Welcome! We're back with another video. I want to show you guys a quick game I played that actually went pretty smooth and pretty clean. Normally, I show my games where I don't do so well, and we're celebrating the complexity of chess when I do that. And we can all commiserate over how hard chess is together, and you guys can watch me fail miserably. But today, we're going to look at a game that actually played pretty well. So let's jump in. I had the black pieces, and of course, my opponent goes e4, and I come back with a Caro-Kann, and then I get surprised with this d3, this kind of like small center thing. And I've seen this kind of a thing before, back when I used to play the Scandinavian, where it would go something like d5, they would take, they come out with here, and then this, and then play d3, and they get this kind of small center. And this is actually a pretty annoying way to play the Scandinavian. But here, it's not quite the same, because I'm already defending with a pawn. And so now bishop g5 comes, which is a bit of a strange move. He's wanting to stop me from playing e5 or e6, because obviously my queen hangs. But as usual with these early bishop forays, it leaves behind this b pawn. So I can just go queen b6, and I'm already touching this pawn. And I do have a bit of pressure here, which is worth noting. And now this bishop is left kind of wondering what it's doing. He chose to play queen to c1, and I went ahead and jumped with e5, because I can. Why shouldn't I? It seems like a pretty reasonable idea to me. I don't really want to be on e6 unless I have to. And this way my bishop gets to escape. And I really think that black is already better, if not equalized. I have a better center. I have free development for my bad bishop. And I have free development for my good bishop. My knights are going to find places to go. I've already got some pressure. I feel good. a3, which seems like a strange move. But I suppose his point is that he's afraid of this check. And perhaps he wanted to bring the knight out and didn't want me to pin it and then ruin his structure. Whatever. So I just jumped out with bishop to c5. Perhaps he'll play here and we go wham. Not what happened though. Instead he chose bishop to h4, which is kind of the best move. And now I went knight to f6. I'm not really worried about this capture because I can capture right here. So I'm just seamlessly sort of developing. Now knight to d2 comes. Again, I don't know that I quite understand this. It shuts the queen in. At least on c3, it would have put some pressure here, and perhaps he would have been threatening to take, and then take at some point. But instead, knight to d2. And I decided I'm going to go ahead with this pressure that I have on this f2 point. And so I played knight to g4, which seems a little bit strange because I'm moving this piece again, and, I haven't moved any of these pieces. I haven't castled. Sort of breaking some principles, but my development's been like pretty seamless, and I have a clear idea, and he needs to respond to this, and it's not entirely clear how he's gonna. So he chose to play knight to h3, which is the best move, but this is an awkward move, because at some point, I will move this knight again, and this bishop is lined up against this pawn, and it's not clear where his king is gonna go if he allows this capture. And this knight doesn't have a whole lot of prospects. It's just defending f2. It can't go to the natural square f4. It can go to g5, but it might just find itself kicked away. So here I just castle, which apparently is a mistake because of b4. It was probably better if instead I can hit with g5. And the idea is that I'm forcing this bishop away. So for example, like g5 comes here. Now I can go h5, and this guy can't take because then I'll grab here. And, I get h4. Fine. This is all clever and fine and good, but I didn't see this idea. But I castled, felt natural, and I already had this idea that I wanted to play f5 open and just continue putting pressure on this f2 pawn. So going to knight to b3 comes, and of course I drop the bishop back. I don't want to give up this beautiful bishop for this sort of awkward knight. f3, trying to kick the knight away, and okay, I should go to knight to f3, and that feels good, but I don't know. I thought maybe my knight was hanging out in the world, but perhaps this is pretty silly. I thought something like this might come, and then d4 happens. I thought you could capture, and okay, I guess this is good, but this pawn just felt loose to me. Apparently this is fantastic for black, but it's not entirely clear to me why. Let's make some natural moves. So let's just say, for example, you play bishop e2, and okay, I suppose the idea is that I can capture, and you're never really going to win this pawn. I can shoot this up the board, kick this knight away, and all of this knight is trapped, actually. It has nowhere to go. The queen, the rook, this pawn, everything all blocked in for this knight. Maybe something like this. Okay, I support this. F5 comes, we open this should up, we bring the knight in. Yeah, okay. All right, I buy it. Knight e3, but it just looked and felt a little bit weird. So I dropped back. And I dropped back to h6, which seems odd, not because I was afraid of this capture, but because I wanted to play f5, and I still want to try to crack the king open. And he doesn't have a lot of great ways to prevent me from doing that. Bishop g5 is a legitimate move and probably should have been considered by him, and kind of sort of refutes my whole concept. But he didn't find that. Instead, he played back to f2, trying to kick me out. So I dropped the queen back, and it seems like that he stabilized this pressure that I have here, but that's just not really true. He comes out to e2, just trying to get castled, and I smack in with f5 out of the gate. I could capture here, but he hasn't castled yet. And since he hasn't castled, I don't really want to open this g file, especially if he puts a rook here. I open it, the queen is threatening to take because of this pen. That would be sort of obnoxious. So I decided to wait a minute, and instead I went straight in with f5. And so he takes here, I take. I have this big, beautiful, giant center. My bishop and knights, free development. Everything is looking pretty classic right here. So now he castles, and I think this is a big mistake because he castles right into the attack, and I just hit f4. The point is that this knight still doesn't have anywhere to go, and I still want to capture it, and I still want to bust open his king side. He shows bishop to e1. I'm not really sure what that move is doing, honestly, and the computer concurs that I suppose his point is he wants to try to get this knight out and avoid this, but it's too late because I just capture, he takes, and now we play queen d7, and I just want to go grab this pawn, I just want to lift this rook, and I just want to mate him. He played king to g2, trying to defend the pawn, but that really doesn't work because I just play rook f6. I mean, I probably should have really strongly considered knight to c6. I mean, I do have two pieces yet that aren't playing, but, you know, I'm attacking with 4 pieces. That's quite a few, right? Rook f6, he comes in, I kick it out of the way, and now king h1 and queen h3, and he resigns. The game is over. It's true. I am only up 1 pawn, but this is pretty disastrous. So I'm threatening to win this bishop, and if we assume, like, say that he does something normal, like, I don't know, drops the bishop back, well, this is just mate directly. And he has to deal with that threat somehow, and the only way to deal with it is to play, like, here, but then I can just collect the bishop. I mean, he could try to play, like, right here, but my intention, probably knight f5 was my idea, because I was looking at that idea anywhere of just sacrificing a knight here to try to open this up. But I just thought this was a clean, comfortable way to play against kind of a slow system. And yeah, I hope that you guys take something away from this, and that you get a chance to try to play just clean, solid chess against this sort of passive opening from white in the Caro-Kann. Anyhow, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll check you out later. Bye-bye.